Hello, my name is John Spurko, the product manager for the Foglight end user solution. Today I'll just be taking you through a few of the reports for our Q1 marketing campaign, and these are the IT executive reports. So the first in the set of 3 reports is an SLA performance and volume report for all of the sites that are monitored once the appliance is plugged in. I'm using an example of Quest.com, and today in Quest.com we're monitoring ToadWorld, SupportLink, Quest.com ASPX, which is a special .NET section of the Quest.com site, Quest.com overall, and we're also monitoring Partner Zone. So basically the way these are set up is you can divide the URLs up once you start monitoring, and basically this is how we cut the URLs up into these specific site buckets, if you will. So I can tell on ToadWorld I had an 87% SLA attainment, and out of the box these are going to be daily reports. So you can see it went from December 1st from 12 noon till December 2nd on 12 noon. So it's the last full hour, and then the trailing 24 hours from that. So I can see that the service level is 87%, and that the service response time at the browser, this is the end-to-end time back to the end user, is 3.1 seconds. Service level attainment at the web server is 98.7%, and then you can see the back end. This is basically the back end time from the web server back. Now over this 24-hour period, we saw 29,697 individual sessions. So these sessions are monitored by a cookie. So we look for the same cookie from different users, and we can tell how many sessions or how many unique sessions were logged into ToadWorld over that 24-hour period. So at a glance you can see the performance from end to end, the performance on the back end, and the user volume over the last 24-hour period. Now instead of going in and just giving you an average over the 24-hour period, what we do next is we give you a breakdown over time, so you can see if there's any dips. And basically what we look for are dips like this. So this is definitely a problem. We're running at a pretty decent baseline above 80%, and then we saw a big dip there down to about 70%. So right away the Quest.com ASPX session is going to be suspect, because something out of the ordinary happened at around midnight. So what we'll do is we'll keep that in mind as we look at the rest of this report, and what we can see, we see the service response time at the browser. So now this is looking, instead of the SLA, this is looking at the actual response times. And again, we can keep an eye on that Quest.com ASPX at around midnight. And we can see it's a little bit bigger, but it's not significantly bigger when we look at it at the browser, right? So this is the end-to-end time all the way back to the end user. Now if we come here and we look at midnight, it's a little bigger on the back end time. So we did have a little spike there in the service times, but nothing real significant. So this compares it to the rest of the applications. So this way you can see if one application is responding poorly or if they're all responding poorly at a certain time, and you can gauge that by subsequent time periods. So if I see a real small blue box all the way across, and then all of a sudden it gets real big, you know something out of the ordinary happened from end to end or simply on the back end. This one here, you can see that this Quest.com ASPX got a little big at this midnight in terms of back end response time, right? So response time measured at the web server. Now the application traffic volumes, this is just more of a volume measurement, and this will let you see all the different ones, the number of users, the number of pages, and then the actual bytes that went in and out of the network at these times. So you can look at those different volume measurements as well. And this will give the IT executives a real good baseline to look at all their applications and have a general understanding about how they're performing. So the visibility they've never had before, and typically these are going to spur a lot of questions. Okay, so let's go to our second report, and our second report is going to be performance and volume by browser. A lot of IT executives are interested in these browser type reports because browsers can mean different things or can do different things. Just in general, it's interesting to know that IE6 is the most popular browser by a stretch here, right? It's pretty significant over the others. And then if we look, this is the page volume, but if we look at the number of users, unique users that are coming in, it's IE7. So we have something in IE6 that's probably requesting a lot of pages here, but IE7 is the real one that these unique users are using. It's also interesting to look at your different bots coming in, like Googlebot is coming in, and this is crawling my site. So Googlebot actually registers as its own browser type. So what's interesting about this is to see the different technologies that are being used against your websites and to be able to differentiate any response time differences or volume differences from those browsers. Here's a couple examples of that. So if I look at service response time by browser, I can see that it's pretty equal. There aren't any significant problems with any one browser where it's responding slower than others. Now, if one was sticking way up, it could be that a new browser came online and that new browser isn't supporting our website properly. So if you see spikes, and we saw this a couple times with things like the new Google browser, the Chrome browser when it came out, and some sites didn't support Chrome, so you'd see big spikes where service response time went up or something broke on the page. Now this is basically a measure, some people know this measurement as user stickiness. So what we can tell here is the different browsers and how long people stay logged into our site. So the average session duration for an IE8 user on Windows 7 is about 2 minutes. And this will let you see, again, any variances. So if you see users come in with certain browsers and don't stay on very long, it's probably going to indicate some type of problem with that browser. Okay, and the same with the browser volumes. You can get a good idea here of the different users on the browsers, the average session durations, and you're just looking for things that stick out. Any anomalies here are automatically going to cause the IT execs to question things and to call back to the administrators and see why certain things are happening. So this visibility is going to help them make better, more informed business decisions and just give them a general understanding of how the business is flowing in and out of these web applications. Okay. So the third and final IT exec report is more information, and it is very similar to the browser report, except this one's by location. So we're monitoring all of the Quest applications. So this is an enterprise monitor, and so we're looking at all those apps, the Toad World, Support Link, everything grouped together. And we are a California-based company, so it's pretty natural that California is going to stick out a lot more than others. But when I look at page volumes, I can see our next busiest site is New York, and then after that Moscow, which is a pretty interesting metric there. And then if I look at the user volume by location, it's just different, page volume versus user volume. And I can see a little bit of the different metrics on that side. I have the same type of metrics here, service response time. So we want to see if any one, this is service response time by location. So I'm looking at the slowest ones, which happens to be Victoria right now. And that's out in Australia. So this may be interesting. If there's a big spike here, this might be interesting to go look at our Akamai settings to see if we maybe have a blown policy on Akamai, and maybe that's why Australia is having to come back to origin for its hits. So there's a lot of different things that these can bring up. New York, I might want to drill in information to this. Again, it's not a huge anomaly here where I would really be forced to question it, but when things really stick up way out of place, that's when you're going to really question and want to get more information on it. Then again, it's the same wrap up here at a volume perspective to give you some more information on those volumes. And mostly just give the IT execs a comfort level, right, that they could see these apps and see they're performing okay, and to just give them that little bit of extra information they need to help build their confidence that their business is performing as expected. Okay, that's the end of the IT executive one. We'll go on to the administrators next. Thank you.